And I think you'll beat Gabriel in Singapore too. All right.
You guys have the floor.
I have the screen now. Can you see the screen?
They could see the screen.
No, he wants to know his presentation.
Oh, we can't see the presentation.
Yes, you are the host.
We are the host?
So can you see the screen?
Not yet. You see you.
Oh.
Hold on. Well, if that is eight here, can you see the screen?
No.
Go to share. You go down to the scroll down. Wave your mouse on the bottom of the screen. You should see the green file folder. Share. There you go.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll just start here, right?
You want to go in presentation mode, right?
Yeah, just try to again.
There you go. Okay.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to have the opportunity to present this. So I'm speaking from Singapore. I'm Gabriel Chen from RSP. So this is project is one that I was involved in. There are many HDB projects all around Singapore. As you can see, this particular project is located here in Tampines. Tampines is the third largest regional centers in the entire, although Singapore is very small, but in itself there are many centers. This is not this one. In these centers, you will find all REITs commonly available in the city center. You have big shopping mall, you have residential, you have industries, you have offices. So you have all the kind of the amenities that you find in a city center. So this is outside the city, but it is a regional center. So the project is effectively on the north side. You can see this patch here. This is the a very concentrated neighborhood center, which is typical of a regional center. That's where there's a lot of offices and shopping mall all located here, and all the MRT is also rated. So let's look at the site. So effectively, this site is a small site. It's only 8,800 square meter, and it's a small site. By HDB standard, because HDB can go up to quite a large site, building up to 1,000 units. So this particular site is only catering to just under 300 units of apartments. So the site, I think when we went through this whole design process, the important thing is there's a great emphasis on site. HDB told us that, look, there's no need for us to go and reinvent different types of units, different apartment layouts. There's no need for that. They're very honest with us because they've done all these years and years of try and error. So they found the best formula. In fact, all these apartment typologies are available on site, on the website, and public knowledge. But the important design synergy here is to effectively, creatively plan the layout on the see the site type. There's existing apartment blocks, and the site is right here, sandwiched in between and overlooking by all these other apartments here. The only open space is on the far north here, then it opens up into the expressway. So you can see that typically the apartment blocks here are about 12 to 13 stories. So HDB basically would like us to look at the site planning carefully, and this is what we presented to HDB on a weekly basis. Yeah, we show how to effectively tackle the important issue of overlooking. So when you plan the apartments, you try not to have windows directly facing. So we felt that inclined to perhaps do a few site planning options, just to see whether we could get the best optimized. what is typical of the HDB development is the multi-story car park. So you can see this gray here is a multi-story car park. Even within such a small site like that, there's a need to accommodate a car park structure. And in a HDB, it's uncommon to have a basement parking because it's just too expensive. So they build an external structure, literally to cater to the parking needs of the residents here. So we try out this kind of layout just to see whether it has any value in it. So this is something that we presented to HDB, including something. So effectively, all these layouts suggest a very perimeter, because the perimeter is the only area that you can maximize the number of units, and then leaving a much bigger open space in the middle. Although having said that, there's quite a lot of overlooking. For example, you can see that these HDB units are literally facing another one next door. So in here, this is the design layout that we come up with. We literally arrange it in a north-south orientation. You can see that it's literally changing the units around so that they don't necessarily face the next unit. Although obliquely you can still see the next unit, but it's not a direct facing. So in a way that this takes care of the sun. You don't get this direct sun, from the east or the west. So you have a north-south orientation. You don't have that kind of glare and the heat, solar gate, the sun. And the multi-story car park is slightly skewed and shaved off, So the thing that I think is HDB is quite happy that we managed to direct overlooking and allowing the units to be in a north-south orientation. So you can see that the layout is quite efficient in a way. You have the double-loaded corridor, and then you have a turnaround, so it's like a staggered arrangement. You have the services arrangement all located here, the lift, the staircase, as well as the external, the big compartments. So in every HDB development, there's a need. In your days, like the one that I'm staying now, you have an internal rubbish compartment chute. You just dump, you just directly access that chute, which is a shaft connecting the units in terms of refuse right down to the bottom when you collect it on a regular basis. Whereas on the contemporary basis, they don't necessarily do that. They actually come out here. Everyone just come out to the corridor here and then just dispose of rubbish down this compartment and the shaft and just directly, hitting the floor below. So you can see that in a typical HDB, it's very compact and very high density developed. And there's still the need to cater to quite a variety of uses, which is dictated by HDB. The most important one is elder care. You have the child care, and then you also have a multi-purpose community pavilion. Of course, the multi-story needs to be accommodated. It's not a nice sort of thing because it eats up all the space, which otherwise, what we ended up doing is we created another open space on top of the roof. So you can see that the first story plan essentially is very kind of well utilized. This is what HDB, and obviously you also need to connect to the neighborhood by way of a sheltered linkway. So it seems to be very, very holistic. The car park itself needs to accommodate sufficient car park as well as additional car parks because of it's a bit of a, I should say, give back to the community because there is 100 additional lots of car parking available for the community because all these previous HDB developments they didn't come with the multi-story car park structure. What they came with is just on gray car park, people just park around. So this new age more contemporary introduce a two-story car park structure which will cater for in case somebody who live here needs to have a parking lot, they can actually drive into this particular structure. So the second story is typical. So you see the distribution of the units. The pink color one are the bigger units, which is for the 3-room unit. It's 2-bedroom plus a living room. The yellow ones and the blue ones are smaller units, which is a studio. Studio in the sense that it's still typically known as one room flat. It's a one bed, and you singles. So this development is catered to a variety of demography. You have the family, which will quite not be go for the 3 room flat, bedroom and the family units. Then you have the senior, the people who retire, as well as singles. Yeah, in HDB, if you're singles, you have to be 35 years old and older in order to buy a HDB. So these are potentially for singles and also for people who are retired who want to downgrade to a smaller unit. So these are the kind of things for them. As you can see earlier, I mentioned that because of the open spaces being chewed up by the car park structure, what we ended up doing is we create another an elevated open space on top of the car park. So this is a bit of a gardening here, so residents can come here and do their own planting, enjoy a bit of due to the lack of open space at the ground level. So this is the 13th floor. So these 2 blocks has a higher floor compared to the other one. The other ones are 12 floors. So you can see that the high density development, and you can see that buildings are quite close to one another. In the older HDB, they are quite far apart. The newer one, you can see here, this is about 20 meters apart. So in a way that the planning tried to stagger them so that you reduce the extent of this proximity between blocks. So you can see that the layout, you see a lot of this kind of open space in this void space region, extending the corridor in such a manner that you encourage a lot of cross ventilation. So this is the other tower. Again, it's a unit. The unique typologies are available from the HDB as a fixed layout. So there is no need as far as we can concerned to go into another kind of a typology. So we just utilize this kind of floor plan and then just insert it into a you can see the common corridor in this area is literally for lifts and staircases, and you can see the rubbish compartment. So you can come here and do rubbish. So in a nutshell, you have all this facility. You have the substation, you have the utility center, and the precinct pavilion is the multi-purpose pavilion, which you can hold wedding parties, birthday parties, or any kind of a meeting in a residence meeting here. So you have so these are the basic needs to be accommodated. FSCF is actually a childcare facility. So that built up is about 22,000 with a floor ratio that's here. So these are the split. This part, one third. There are 3 types of apartment here, so it's about 30% of each. So build up to about 22. So just to give you an idea what the layout is like, in a HDB typical apartment, this is a small studio. Effectively, it's not bedroom. You can see that without the aircon, the air conditioning unit is about 35 square meters. So it's a very small and yet compact. In Singapore, there is a need to accommodate a household shelter. This is a bomb shelter. So it's a kind of emergency shelter, just in case there is a threat of some sort. People will come here. It's a very small compartment. It's about 1.6 square meter, and this is available for it's only for one person. So you come in here, very compact layout. You have a living room, and this is a bedroom. But obviously, this compartment may be needed, so it can be just an open space for 2 families. Sometimes, so you have a privacy, you can have your own bit of a sliding partition. The toilets are accessible from both sides, from as well the kitchen as well as that. So this is to cater to the needs of seniors. For example, if you're retired, then this gives that flexibility of access to the bathroom. Obviously, for singles, they may not want that idea to be accessible from here, so you can just close it off. So there's some flexibility here in terms of what you can still afford to do a bit of renovation after you collect the key. This is another one-bedroom apartment, slightly bigger. It's 45 square, about 10 square meter bigger. So it's slightly bigger for those who like much larger apartments. Yeah. Again, the toilets are accessible from both sides. This is the two-bedroom flat. This can have a family here, a unit here. So you have very common. Again, you see the home shelter right in the middle of the space. This is how it's normally planned. This is usually parked in the center of the space so that it's protected, it's sandwiched by other non-critical the bit of yard here, which is for for people who can have a dishwashing machine, the station here. And these are retractable, which you can extend if you have more laundries to dry. So actually, of course, you can opt to have a dryer in your unit, but most of the population prefer to hang their laundry outside. So in order not to be unsightly, so this is what they cater to their yard. For this unit, you can see there are two bathrooms. So it's very common that you have a common bathroom, which is here, and then you have a master bedroom bath. So this is about 65 square meter unit. Gives you a sense of the development in elevation here. A lot of these units are precast, so the are actually being prefabricated and then transported to site before the hoist and launch phase. So this is the other elevation. Of course, this one did not show the multi-story car park. Just to give you an idea of the section, you can see the multi-story car park can actually carry back a fair bit of car park, and then you have the roof garden on top. So this is the rendering to show what it is that all these elements are standardized. So this is a very typical, if you compare this elevation and the previous generation HDB, this is a little bit more simpler, whereas before there is still this kind of decorative brickwork being used. But nowadays they just try to standardize it so that's literally simplified and more it takes lesser time. This is the other view I'm looking at. So you can see the garden here. There's this playground as well as the elder care center here. This is the drop-off bin, and you can see the multi-story car park structure here. This is the where it's built now. This is the actual thing. Pretty much a standard HDB development, a small scale one, compared to some larger ones here. So this is the neighbors. This is where and this drop off. And you can see that the rubbish compartment is here. So the rubbish gets disposed of at every floor and then comes straight down. And then there will be a truck and a vehicle will come here and take away the accused on a regular basis. The drop off, this is the multi-story car park. We try to dress it up. It's not that nice a structure, the way that we give it. These are just from the look when you are into the HD block. You see a lot of this kind of open air. They're not big, but they are enough to throw a bit of daylight down to the bottom. And also, this is where the yard is when you have your laundry and washing machine. And it's a bit of a balcony if you like, but in a kind of next to kitchen kind of scenario. Yeah, staircases are in the contemporary HDB development, they would like it to be closed and entered. These are naturally ventilated staircases. In the old days, the staircases are literally open. There's no compartment to it, so people use it as a normal open stair. But in the contemporary now, the staircases are compartmented, so they are literally dedicated for the purpose of it. So this is all there is for the project. I can provide spots.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, in one of the tables, you had the unit size with the AC and the unit size without AC, so what was the difference there? Can you hear me?
Unit size.
So he asked in one of the graphics that you had a unit size.
Yeah, with AC and without AC.
Yeah, one unit size with one unit without AC and one with.
Yeah, right there on that table. So
Yes, this one.
what is that, and what does that signify?
Sorry, what was that?
No, what does that mean? Like, the unit with AC is a little bit bigger in this case without AC, and then in another table, there was another unit that had the same
Chen, I
number.
think you can help with that. I think I know what he's asking. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what Gabriel's referring to is that if you have AC, if you can see on this plan, and you can point to it with your pointer, Gabriel, there's a little ledge behind the bathroom there. That's an outdoor area where you put your split system condenser. Right, so that's
a more area.
Added area, right, Gabriel?
Yeah, it's a very common thing. If you look at the older HDB, like the one that the AC unit, the outdoor unit is actually deeply cantilever. It's just bracketed, fixed onto the outside. It's not very nice. So in a way that the modern HDB now, they like it to be a little bit concealed, which is why in the block layout you see a lot of this kind of area, which is used for cross ventilation as well as for AC unit to discharge hot air into that kind of space. So in a way that is trying to conceal it and literally next to the water source, so it's easy to run the distributor.
Yeah, because the condenser generates condensation, and you want to be close to a drain near the bathroom.
Yeah.
So the air conditioning unit is optional. That's the only square footage area difference.
Yeah, it's when they tell the HDB, they will tell the public that with air conditioning they're selling at 36.7, but effectively the effective space which is for usage.
Right, just to help everybody know, conversion from metric to imperial, because in Singapore they work in metric square meters. Roughly, if you add a 0 to the 36 square meters, it's roughly, it should be 360 square feet.
Yes, you have to multiply with by 10.7. Yes,
So it's basically add a 0, and it's pretty close.
So 35.39 is equivalent to
350 odd square feet.
380 square feet.
380. That's like a stupid apartment in Kaka'ako.
Yes.
Okay, two
Well,
more.
this is a pretty small unit. It's for people as well as retiring.
Two more quick questions. What is the construction cost then per, what would be the measurement? Per square meter? And then the second question is what portion of these tenants actually own a car, generally speaking, given what we heard about how expensive it is to have cars in Singapore?
If you look at okay, you can see the car parking numbers is 79. So there's a ratio, and this ratio is also part of the authority requirements, for residential. If you look at condominium in Singapore, they will try to give one unit across for larger units. They will try to add on, but a typical scenario is one car permitted for every condominium development. But for HDB, is quite different because there's a lot of share. You can literally hop to another state and park it there, without any problem. You just have to have that group home. That's all there is. It's not very expensive. So you can see that the 75 compared to a 1 unit, it's not possible to buy 289 units of lots. So in this kind of development, there is a ratio to be taken. So it's 79 plus another 100. 100 is another requirement, which is given to us, from the authority to HDB that this is so all in all is about 179. But for the cost, now I'm not too sure what the cost is. I can come back to you. Effectively, because it changes, it's a number that I have to plug up from another source. I don't have it here. Let me come back.
Any other questions?
How many units in this site? Just wanted to know, how many units on this site then? How many total units do you have? Total, the density?
Yeah. For this one, it's 289 units. You can see here is 289 units here. It's about 30% each type of units. So the density works out to be about 2.8 or something like that. 2.54. It's a quite a normal kind of density for development downtown. It might be closer to 4 or 5. Like Duxton is very high floor ratio, very dense, and the buildings are very tall. This one, because it's suburban, the normal, number of stories is only 13 to 12. So it's a cozy, small HDB development. It's quite diverse in terms of you do come across HDB, even in a suburban area, rise up to 35, 40 stories high. It's quite a remarkable diversity in terms of what you can see, where you can find HDB. So to live in
How many stories do you have? About 12?
12, 13.
12 and 13.
Yeah.
You get FAR.
I think it's a very, very common number for HDB, when you come to low-rise HDB.
Yeah, so your FAR is 2.5.
Yeah, I really like this kind of development because I saw how tall some HDB towers are, and they can look a bit intimidating like this. For those who like it to be high up, in the sky, fine. So I have my own personal preference here.
So relative to Honolulu, this 2.5 FAR is what's allowable in our business districts and a business mixed use, like along our urban core park. So typically, like you can go up to 8 stories or so, usually 8 to 10 stories. But it's not super high like a downtown financial district.
Right. What's the highest floor ratio here?
The high, well, it's based on FAR, and there's and there's also a maximum building height of about 440 feet, as tall as you can go in the highest density district.
I have just one more. I noticed that you have green space, you have the lawn, and it's nice and green. Is that a requirement, or in all of the projects, or is it because of the nature of this project?
Yes, you're right. In every project in Singapore, there is a requirement for green. Now, this is usually come under the site coverage. For a residential development, including HDB, you should keep the site coverage below 40%. So even as you can see here, it's about 38% site coverage. So the rest will have to be green, and effectively every HDB, no matter how big or small, the fundamental facility is still there. You have the jogging track, you have the elder care, you have the pavilion here for multi-purpose uses, you have the childcare, you have all sorts of playground, exercise spots and so on. So you can see that the tracks are all, you can actually run here all over. Then you have the playground, you have the little elder care, which is effectively a place where elderly people will sit, and then you have a bit of a reflexology on your feet, just kind of pebbles on the floor and anything as well. So, I mean, population in Singapore is aging fast, so there is a need to take care of a lot of the needs of the elderly, especially newer estates. So these are I mean, it's getting to be that kind of situation that these requirements are a must, in all the HDB developments. But green is definitely a matter of cost, one would literally have to do it without.
One other question, could you describe the development team for HDB in Singapore? Like, who are the players? Which ones are third party, like perhaps architects, engineers versus construction managers versus contractors or the developers?
Sure. HDB is an authority, is a government agency, as you know. They are set up to look after housing, and to create housing policy for implementation. They will be the party who roll out all the projects of HDB, so when they roll out HDB projects, HDB run projects, private consultants will take part in the tendering. So people like us, RSP will tender for a project, and the condition and criteria is all prescribed anyway. So if you met that, you potentially stand a very good chance of getting it. So effectively, you have the private consultants, and the private consultants will come with the engineers, quantity surveyors, as a kind of multidisciplinary team, which will then, present themselves as a cohesive team. And usually we'll say, okay, let's appoint these people because it complies with all the requirements, and they will then sit down and start doing the design. The architects, that is, will basically spend a lot of time, doing the site planning and so on. So then you have the HDB party, who will consist of, at that point in time, the project team. The project teams consist of basically design managers and people who are very experienced in HDB development. And then thereafter, there is a management team who is a higher level, more like just below the CEO, and they will then decide to put us the rubber stamp there and say, look, let's agree this is okay. As far as we're concerned, let's push on. Then they will have to call tender. So effectively, the tendering process is very simple. It's a simple kind of procedure, just like any building projects in Singapore. It's no different. So for public tender, they will have a public tendering procedures.
So he means bid by tender. Bid is a synonym here, right? The United States, you call it tendering, we call it bidding.
Yeah, bidding, yeah, you call bidding. Okay, here it's called tendering. I mean, here they adopt a lot of this British standard. So effectively, the terminology used is also very much a British one.
And you also call erasers rubbers, right? Erasers are called rubbers. Remember that? They got it. Okay.
Okay, I think that's all the time we have, but on behalf of all of us here, thank you so much, Gabriel and Dean.